The DOJ just seized 127,000 Bitcoin, roughly $15 billion, from a single criminal operation. Not from a Wall Street hedge fund, not from a shadowy offshore bank, from a walled compound in Cambodia that trafficked human beings and forced them to run online scams 12 hours a day. And that is just the beginning of how strange this story gets. Rewind to 2021. Across Southeast Asia, thousands of people were responding to job ads, posted on social media, sent through messaging apps, promising high-paying tech jobs in countries like Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos. The ads looked legitimate: customer service roles, data entry, English language call center work. The pay was good, the opportunity seemed real. They were walking into a trap. Once workers arrived, their passports were confiscated. They were housed in locked compounds surrounded by armed guards. And they were given a quota: defraud as many people as possible or face beatings, food deprivation, and electric shocks. This was not a metaphor. This was documented by survivors, corroborated by international human rights organizations, and confirmed in federal indictments. These were slave-run fraud factories, and the product they manufactured was cryptocurrency theft. Now here is the question worth sitting with for a moment. How does an operation like this stay hidden long enough to steal $15 billion? The answer involves a billionaire, a border, and a financial system that most governments didn't even know how to regulate yet. We'll get there. The compound at the center of this story was called Huione Group, part of a broader network operated under the Huione Group, a Cambodian conglomerate with ties to the country's ruling elite. The group ran what it publicly described as a technology and services park. In reality, federal prosecutors allege it was one of the largest money laundering platforms ever discovered, a marketplace where criminal gangs could buy stolen data, rent fraud scripts, purchase fake identities, and move dirty money through cryptocurrency with near-total anonymity. The FBI called it a cyber-enabled fraud ecosystem. In plain language, a one-stop shop for financial crime. Here is where the story shifts from disturbing to staggering. According to blockchain analysis firms that worked with federal investigators, the Huione network processed over $58 billion in cryptocurrency transactions between 2021 and 2024. Not all of it was illegal, but investigators identified billions linked directly to fraud proceeds. The operation was generating an estimated $30 million a day at its peak. Think about that number for a second. $30 million every single day. That is more than many mid-sized American companies earn in an entire year, and it was being extracted from ordinary people who thought they were making a smart investment. This brings us to the specific fraud technique that powered most of those earnings.
It is called pig butchering. The name is intentional and brutal. You fatten the pig before slaughter. A fraudster, one of the trafficked workers sitting in a locked room, would contact a victim through a dating app, LinkedIn, or even a wrong number text. They would spend weeks or months building a relationship, romance, friendship, trust. Then they would casually mention a cryptocurrency investment that had been earning incredible returns. They would help the victim set up an account on a platform that looked completely real: professional website, live charts, customer support. The victim would invest. The returns would appear. They would invest more, and when they tried to withdraw, the platform would vanish. So would the person they trusted. The FBI documented cases of victims losing their entire retirement savings, their children's college funds, their homes. One victim in the federal case lost over $900,000. These were not naive people. These were doctors, engineers, teachers, people who were simply lonely or looking for an opportunity, and who were systematically targeted by trained operators running from inside a compound they could not leave. Now here is the twist that makes this story unlike any fraud case before it, the one open question we have been building toward. How did the US government seize Bitcoin from a compound in Cambodia? The answer is blockchain forensics. Every Bitcoin transaction is recorded permanently on a public ledger. You cannot erase it. You can try to obscure it by moving funds through mixers, fake exchanges, and shell wallets, but if investigators have the right tools and enough time, they can follow the money. Companies like Chainalysis and TRM Labs spent years mapping the financial trails leading out of these compounds. They traced funds through hundreds of intermediate wallets, through exchanges in multiple countries, and eventually to wallets where the keys could be legally compelled or seized through international legal process. In 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice announced the seizure of approximately 94,636 Bitcoin, at the time valued at around $6 billion, with subsequent actions bringing the total forfeiture figure toward the $15 billion range when accounting for related assets and additional seizures connected to the broader network. It became the largest cryptocurrency forfeiture in the history of the United States Justice Department. The indictments named multiple individuals, including senior figures alleged to have knowingly operated and profited from the platform. But here's what those numbers still cannot capture. As of mid-2024, the United Nations estimated that over 200,000 people were being held against her will in fraud compounds across Southeast Asia. 200,000 people. The Bitcoin seizure made headlines. The human beings still trapped inside those compounds received far less attention.
Several governments, including the US, Australia, and the UK, have now issued formal warnings about pig butchering scams. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center reported that cryptocurrency fraud losses in the US alone exceeded $5.6 billion in 2023, a nearly 50% increase from the year before. The infrastructure behind those losses was in significant part the network prosecutors have now partially dismantled. So what does this story actually teach us? 3 things worth remembering. First, if someone you met online, romantically or professionally, starts mentioning cryptocurrency investments, treat it as a red flag, regardless of how long you have known them. The fraud is designed to feel personal because the workers running it are trained to make it feel personal. Second, blockchain is not anonymous, it is pseudonymous. Every transaction leaves a permanent trail, and law enforcement is getting better at reading it. Third, and this is the hardest one, financial crime at this scale is not victimless, not abstract, and not happening somewhere distant. The money being stolen comes from real people, and the people doing the stealing are often victims themselves. The Huione case is not over. Prosecutors have described it as an ongoing investigation. More indictments are expected, and the fraud compounds, some of them, are still operating. If this story made you feel something, it should. Leave a comment below. Do you think cryptocurrency can ever be fully regulated, or has it already become too big to control? Subscribe for a new financial crime investigation every week. And if you want to go deeper, watch our video on the original Silk Road takedown, which started the FBI's journey into blockchain forensics and set the legal groundwork that made this case possible.